A few days ago, my huge indie palette ranking would have gone live, and today is part 2 of my little ranking series. Today, I'm ranking my drugstore palettes. Now, I have a lot of drugstore palettes. There are a few brands here that I wasn't sure where to put them in, so like Nabler and Beauty Bay and Juvia's Place, but I've kind of put them in drugstore because they're inexpensive brands, kind of. You may think otherwise for some things, but I had to put them somewhere, so I decided to put them in this video. A lot of these are Colourpop, a lot of these are Beauty Bay, and I'm really excited because a lot of the time drugstore does get overlooked a little bit, so I'm excited to showcase them today with you guys. But just before we do jump into the video, if you have not already, definitely like and subscribe. I upload every single day here on my YouTube channel. I love bright, fun, colourful makeup. This look would be a first impressions get ready with me a few days ago, so definitely go and check that out. I was trying some new makeup on the market, and I mean, I think this look is pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie. I really love this look, so definitely go and check that out. So, as I said, I have a lot to get through today, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it. How I like to rank things, if you want to do a ranking video yourself, is I get all of my drugstore palettes, then I make 3 categories. One category is palettes that I don't not like them because otherwise they wouldn't be in my collection, but palettes that I'm just kind of neither here nor there about. Then the next category is palettes that are kind of in the middle, and then I have a pile of palettes that I absolutely love, and that makes it easier for me to rank them. So if you wanted some ranking tips, there you go. So palette number 19, I have 19 drugstore palettes in my makeup collection. Palette 19 is the Revolution X Lion King Circle of Life palette. Now this is only in my collection because I love the Lion King. I am addicted. It is my favourite film of all time, and I just mentally cannot get rid of this. I did get rid of the sister palette to this in my recent makeup declutter series, so I did get rid of one, but I can't get rid of this one. I really like this colour story in theory. In practice, no. The quality is not good at all. The shimmers are like so thick. They are like those thick, not very shimmery shimmers, and there's no point in making them shimmers, to be honest. The mattes are okay in this palette. The mattes in the other palette that I got rid of were absolutely horrendous, so this was the best out of the two. I'm really upset about this palette. Like, I used to love it, but I think I was like under the spell of it being the Lion King, and I just love the Lion King so much. It was just one of those palettes that I thought I loved, and I really don't. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I'm not going to get rid of it just yet because, as I said, I did get rid of the previous Lion King palette, so I've got rid of one already, but I don't think this is going to be staying in my collection like super long term. It's just a collector's item mainly, and I don't really like the quality of it. So yeah, that's number 19. This is the only palette that's bad quality though. I've said in my indie palette ranking that even if a palette is last on the list, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It just kind of means the colour story doesn't really acquire to me. This is the only palette in this whole video that is genuinely just bad quality. The rest of the palettes are really great. They just don't call to me specifically. Number 18 is the start of the Colourpop palette. We're going to see a hell of a lot of Colourpop in this video. This is the Orange You Glad palette. Now, I really like colour and I really like cool tones. This is kind of neither of them. Yes, orange is a colour, but it's not colourful enough to be a colour, if that makes sense. That was the like weirdest way to describe it, but if I'm gonna do a colourful makeup look, I'm not gonna go for orange, because to me, orange is too neutral to be a colour, but too colourful to be neutral. Very strange. I'm just not really gravitating towards these shades, and to be honest, I think my Modern Renaissance palette was a massive reason for this being neglected. I panned the Modern Renaissance for 2 years and it just put me off these kind of shades, these oranges, like bright, warm tones. I very quickly realised I really did not like these shades, and that's absolutely fine. That's okay. I'm allowed to not like shades, but I think because I have all of the Colourpop monochromatic rainbow palettes. I just can't get rid of them. I do enjoy this if I'm maybe doing a look and I need a specific orange. Like, this definitely does come in handy, so I do like having it in my collection. However, it is just one of those that just kind of sits and gets neglected most of the time. I really don't use this often at all. I wouldn't say this is one that I'm reaching for all the time. Maybe I'll throw one in my pan Those Eyeshadows. That could be really, really fun. But other than that, I really don't reach for it much. Maybe I should though, because it is pretty, but I just never reach for orange. Realgar haunts my dreams. So this, maybe not. At number 17, we are carrying on the Colourpop trend. And again, I feel like modern renaissance is kind of looming over this one. This is the Colourpop Main Squeeze palette, and this is the bright red palette. Again, modern renaissance had those reds, and since kind of giving up with that, I have not wanted to reach for this too much. Not that the quality is bad, the quality isn't bad, it's just like, I don't want to look at a red right now. This is red. Like, there's no getting away from it. Red is a colour that I'm kind of scared of wearing. However, I always say I need to wear reds because I do have quite light blue eyes, and red is meant to like really make your blue eyes pop. So I really should use this. However, I feel like with red, there's no way of toning it down. You've got to really commit to the red, and I don't know if I like that. I'm a very cool tone girl. I love cool toned shades, cool tones palettes, cool tone colours. Red is as warm tone as you could possibly get, really. I did hit pan on this shade. I think that was in a pan Those Eyeshadows, but I don't know, it's one of those palettes, again, I kind of pick at. I never really bring it out for a red look. I do use this as a wing quite a lot with blues and things like that, but again, it's a picky kind of colour story. It's not really jumping out at me. It's not really like wowing me, but again, because of the collector's mentality with Colourpop, I really can't get rid of it. I do enjoy having it. It's not a palette that I'm like, oh my god, I hate it so much, but it's not really something that I'm jumping for joy at either, so I don't really mind having it in my collection. It's just something that really does get neglected. I reach for it every now and then, but rarely. At number 16, we're keeping the theme going strong, warm tone Colourpop. This is the It's My Pleasure palette. This is very, very purple leaning, and purples and pinks are not really my love, so I'm not really surprised that this one has gone neglected. However, there are some shades in here that I really, really do like. So again, I've hit pan on one of the shades here. This shade Pretty Cruel, I really, really do like. I actually really like cool toned mauves, because I mean, cool tones. Are we surprised? No, we're not. And this shade Mr. Sandman as well is really, really nice. This shade has been in a pan Those Eyeshadows and it barely looks touched, which makes me very, very scared, and I did pair it with this shade, and I really liked that for just an everyday neutral look. Shades like Bare Minimum give me nightmares. I really don't like these kind of shades, so this is like a 50-50 kind of palette. I do like a few of the shades, but then a few of them I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It just depends if something is cool toned or warm toned. That's what kind of makes or breaks this for me. I really like purple as a companion colour, kind of what I'm wearing today. I don't like an all purple look, but as a companion, I can take it. I can take it. So I like this definitely less than this, but I still wouldn't use this as a full palette. That's what I use my Colourpop palettes for, more companion-based colour stories rather than dedicated looks. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I quite like that, so there we go. At number 15, no one is going to be shocked here. This is the Colourpop Frozen Elsa palette, and this again has very, very warm toned shades in here. The reason I bought this is because I was like, oh my god, it has a blue in it. It's a blue palette. But obviously, no, I needed to look at the rest of the shades. I definitely zoned in on these three shades when I went to buy this palette, and I was like, oh my god, it's got blues. And then the rest of the shades I don't reach for. This was in a No Pan Left Behind, I was going to say recently, not recently at all, like ages ago, and I did really, really enjoy it. These are palettes that I don't reach for of my own free will, but if I'm kind of given them, I will enjoy them. So I don't know, they do have a purpose in my collection. I do like owning them. As I said, like if I hated these, they would have been decluttered. So they do have a purpose in my collection. However, I just don't reach for this much at all, ever. Again, I could kind of do this kind of look with this, but it's just, I mean, this shade, the glitter, I used to wear this on my nails all the time and it was so pretty. So I definitely need to do a look with this. You're probably going to hear that so often in this video, like, oh my god, I need to do a look with this. But it's just not something that's like sparking much. But I do still kind of like it. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets decluttered at some point, but I do have a little bit, not only for collector's reasons, like a soft spot for Colourpop, but also because it is quite expensive to get here in the UK. I know Colourpop is like a cheap brand in America, but in the UK, you've got to get it shipped, you've got to get taxes added on that, and it's just, it adds up a lot of money. So for me, this is quite an expensive palette. So it's staying for now. Would not be surprised if it does get decluttered later on down the line, but for now I enjoy it. It's fine, it's okay, we live. I just realised how many Colourpop palettes are in this like bottom section because we've got more. We've got more, they just keep coming. This is Just My Look from Colourpop. This is the green monochromatic palette, and you know what, I do like this. It's not something I reach for though. I have pound on 2 of these shades. The shade Mary Jane, oh my god, it speaks to my soul. I love shades like this. And the olivey greeny shades as well are quite pretty, but it's just the like true greens that I have trouble with. It's nice, it's nice. I promise I do like Colourpop, okay? I promise. This sounds like I really don't, but I just think monochromatic looks are a little bit, like I used to really, really like them, but now maybe not so much, but that's okay. Green is a shade that I struggle with. Apart from these 3 shades here, like this true green is a little bit like, maybe not, maybe not. But again, maybe I need to challenge myself. Maybe I need to just sit down and use it. I did do a look with this and the next palette because they were my least used palettes of last year. And I sat down and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a video using my most neglected products. And I really loved the look that came out with this. And so I know that I do like it. However, reaching for greens is just a little bit difficult for me because it's not the first thing that comes to mind. Like blues, love. Anything like that, love. Greens, not so much. So again, maybe it's something that I need to use more. But it's good quality, like I said, all of these things, apart from the Lion King palette, are really nice quality still. Like they are pretty old, but still they hold their quality really, really well. So I'm not mad about it. It's just kind of serving a very niche purpose. Okay, we have 2 more Colourpop palettes back to back, and then I promise you'll have a break. The next palette, this is in number 13 spot. This is the AHA Honey palette from Colourpop. This is the yellow palette, and I really love yellow as a pop of colour in any kind of look. I feel like yellow goes with any colour ever, and that is why I love this palette. Again, more of a companion than a dedicated palette. You can tell that this has been used a lot more than the previous palettes. We have got a few pans. I use a lot of these as like liquid liners, so that's why some of them have been scraped out. I love like a bold yellow liner. I think it's so, so pretty. So this does have a place. I do use this, I was going to say a lot, maybe not a lot, but like I use this every now and then as a pop of yellow in a look, and that is why I love this. This is not a palette, again, that I would be like, right, I'm going to do an all yellow look with this, because for me, I don't know what it is about yellow, it does scare me as like a full look. However, with a blue, with a green, with a purple, with a pink, with a red, I think yellow looks really, really nice, and that is why I keep it around. So you can see that gradually we are moving through the palettes that I don't touch ever, and we're slowly going into the palettes that I do actually use every now and then and that I do hold some kind of special place in my heart for. It's just really difficult sometimes with these Colourpop palettes because I bought them as a vault. I didn't necessarily go out and think, I really want a yellow palette. It just kind of arrived in the vault and now here I am unable to get rid of it. But I do like the different undertones. I do like the different shades. And I do like this palette. Just not as a not as a one and done. Okay, finally for a little bit, I feel like I've been targeting Colourpop in this video and I'm so sorry, but in slot number 12, this is the Colourpop Making Mes palette. Now, I actually really liked this. I went through a phase where I used this all the time, and I think I learned that even though I don't like pinks, I do like cool tone pinks. These more cool tone, smoky, pinky shades, I actually do like. It's the like warm tone pinks that make me want to run and hide. These ones are really, really nice. You can see the usage on this is pretty major, and I'm really glad that I did end up using this and kind of learning that mauves are a different category than pinks in my mind. These are more neutral pinks, and you know what? That's fine. Again, I've got very blue eyes, so these shades really do complement my eyes very, very well, which is amazing. And I really like this. Again, I want to use it more. I do want to use this one more because I feel like this one is really complimentary to me. It is lower down on the list because, like, at the end of the day, it's still kind of pink, and it's not my, like, absolute go-to, like, best thing in the world. However, I do quite like mauves. I do. That's something that I learned a few months ago, and who'd have thought, you know? This shade in particular, Mauve on Top, is like so sparkly. You can see it there in the pan. It is so beautiful, and I really do enjoy this, and I really do like this. Shock horror. I know. I even thought that with my That's Taupe palette, that is coming up later on, that is my Pan That palette right now, and even if I finish some of the shades, maybe I'll swap out some, and even something in here would be really, really nice to put in my Pan That palette. Maybe one of these, like, slightly subtle mauvey shades would be really nice. So yeah, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, but it's definitely something that I've been thinking about. I do like this. Shocker. I know. Finally, something that's not Colourpop. Oh my goodness me. I feel like I've just dragged Colourpop through the mud. I'm so sorry, Colourpop. But at spot number 11, this is my Nabler Cutie Platinum palette. This is one that is notoriously neglected in my collection, and I'm always so sorry about it, but you know what? That's okay. I feel like because I'm constantly panning neutral palettes, this one just gets swept under the rug a little bit and forgotten about. However, I do really enjoy this palette. I think it is so pretty. And I have done a look recently with it that I really, really did enjoy. I know that this is always neglected. However, this is a palette that I know whenever I use it, it's going to be a good time, you know? This is one that it's not used often, but when it is used, it's loved. So I feel a little bit more okay keeping it. I know a lot of people were like, no, get rid of it, you're never using it. But I really like it. I do like it. So I am going to keep it and I am going to love it. Even these like grey tone taupes, I mean, you know, I love these grey tone taupes. So it's a really nice quality palette. I do like Nabler. I'd love to try more of Nabler. I know they came out with like a blue palette similar to this layout, and I mean, that nearly got me. I nearly bought that, I can't lie. But Nabler's been really good. This palette, really good quality. I really, really do like it. We're definitely moving now into the palettes that I definitely really like, rather than the palettes that are just kind of here. So I'm going to be smiling a lot more at the end of this video. I'm really, really excited. This is palette number 11. And now we're moving into top 10, which is really, really exciting. So at 10th spot is my P. Louise Winter Wonderland palette. This again is moving more into those cool tone shades that I really, really love, like blues and purples. Yes, especially cool tone purples. The only issue that I have with this palette, and the reason why it's not further up, is because this is subject to the P. Louise curse. The P. Louise curse is sometimes I forget that P. Louise knows that eyeshadows are meant to blend. You know, this middle shade could go. You can blend these N2 shades. This middle blue can go. You can blend these two. We don't need a shade dedicated to every slight deviation of colour. And for me, it annoys me that P. Louise does that. If you need 3 shades to get, like, especially these purples, these 2 shades, you don't need these 2 shades. They're identical. If you genuinely need that in a palette, then you're not making eyeshadows right. they're meant to be able to blend together and to kind of merge together. You don't need a shade for every single pixel on a color wheel. It does make me a little bit angry. That's why it is further down on the list. It's not like in my favorites, because I feel like you could get rid of 2 shades easily. I don't know, it does annoy me a little bit. Let me know if you've ever found that with P. Louise, because I do think that is like a quite a common gripe, I guess, with the brand. Like, it's just annoying to me. I don't know. She does it again with a different palette I'm about to talk about, but not as badly. This takes the mick, I feel like, a little bit. I'm dragging this. I'm really dragging this. This is in top 10, like, I promise. I don't hate it that much, but yeah, it's a little bit annoying, and it is very thick as well. Like, it's a thick palette for what she is. At number 9, we're going back to Colourpop again. This is my High Tide palette. Now, I remember saying way before this was even released that Colourpop need to do a monochromatic teal palette. And then years later, here it is. So you know what? I take credit for this. Yeah, this was definitely my idea. Obviously, I know it's not, but I was waiting for this for so long, and I really love teals. Blues and teals I really like, greens I don't. So I don't really know what the deal is there, because this isn't far away from being green, but I really, really like this. I like how there's the cool tone teals and the warm tone teals. I really enjoy that. You can get a good mix of both in here. It's not just boring. That is something that I really find that Colourpop do well. They do monochrome, but not boring. It's monochrome, but interesting, and it takes a lot to be able to do that. This palette is really, really nice quality again. I'd love to hit pan on this shade. It's got a huge dip in it, so maybe I'll focus on that at some point, but I really love this palette. I jumped on this when this was released. I was so excited about this because, again, I had been saying for so long, why don't they do a teal palette? That would go down so well. And here it is. I think this was limited edition, which, like, why? But I love it so much. And even the outside packaging, like, it's so cute. Love this. At number 8, I have a palette that, I'm not gonna lie, is very, very sentimental. This was my first ever colourful palette. This is what kickstarted the whole thing that I'm doing right now, and this is the Juvia's Place Zulu palette. I have £3 in here. You know this is loved. This was used and abused, and honestly, Nikki Tutorials, I'm blaming you, girl. Nikki Tutorials was definitely the reason that I jumped on this and that I ended up falling in love with colourful makeup. This is like a carnival in a palette. I did a pantomime and I used this top row for the pantomime, like bright, colourful. I really enjoy it. It got me into blue as well. I think this was like my first blue eyeshadow, which, what a time, what a time. It's just so good, and the pigmentation is amazing. Do I have things that are better now? Yes, but at the time, this was like the best quality you could ever get. I don't think duochromes were even a thing, or if they were like just starting out. This just holds so many special memories for me, and if it wasn't sentimental, would it be this high up? Maybe, maybe not. I don't reach for this too much, but honestly, just sentimentality. I really, really do like it. I got rid of my other Juvia's Place palettes, but I've just not been able to get rid of this one because I just think it's so pretty, and I don't know, maybe I'll never be able to get rid of it, but it does make me smile still. I'm really happy with it. So yeah, I'm okay with it being so high up. Next is a palette that I got for my birthday, not last year, the year before, which, I mean, seems crazy to say. Where does time fly? I did so many Get Ready With Mes with this palette, and honestly, I love it so much. This is my NYX Ultimate Jean Baby palette, and this was my first experience with NYX eyeshadows, and I really, really enjoy them. This colour story is literally me in a palette. I love this so much. There are a few things that I would add though. So I'd love a neutral shimmer that isn't this dark, and I'd also love a blue shimmer that isn't super dark. Like, the light shimmers in this palette are quite lacking, but other than that, it's pretty fine. Like, I am in no shortage of single eyeshadows that I can pull out and use in conjunction with this. Like, I'm fine. I'm not gonna struggle. NYX was kind of, it still is notorious for being a pretty expensive drugstore brand, but honestly, this palette is so nice. Like, I love this so much. Neutrals and blues are my favorite color story ever. Like, you'll see later on in this video. It's taupes and blues all the way. I love it so much. And for the drugstore, it's such a nice palette that I feel like was made for me, you know? I love all of these blue and taupe. Just blue and taupe. That's all I need to say. I just absolutely love it so much. This makes me excited to try new NYX color stories because if it's this good quality, I'm there. I love it. I still get inspired by this all the time. So I'm really, really happy that this is number 7 on this list. But now let's move on to number 6. This is, again, a really sentimental palette. And I actually think I wore this top when I reviewed this palette. This is the Beauty Bay Botanical palette. And this review just blew up my channel. Like, I have no idea what happened, but I am so grateful for everyone who bought this palette using my link. And this, again, this made me able to dream almost. It sounds so cheesy and so cringy, but like, I just want to say thank you every time I pull this palette out. This review did so well on my channel, and I still smile all the time when I think about it. I really love this color story though as well. It is so pretty. It's like so grungy, but also fairy-like. It's so spring and summer and also fall and also winter. Like, it's such good quality. I need to use this more. I know I say that all the time, but I do. These like cool tone shades are absolutely perfect for my everyday. I love taupes. Taupes are my go-to everyday going to work kind of shades, but this also has a little bit something different. Normally I would always pair taupes with blues. However, pairing it with greens and this kind of like eggplanty shade, I wouldn't have done that, but I'm so happy that Beauty Bay did because I really, really like this. I think it's so pretty. It is such a beautiful palette. It's a mix of cool tones with a few little warm tones added in. You can definitely tell at the end of this list, there's a lot more cool tones. There's a lot more cool tones. I just think it's really beautiful, really nice quality as well. And for £16, like, are you kidding? I just don't know how Beauty Bay do it. Beauty Bay kill it every single time, and I'm so happy I bought this. This was in a phase where I was like, I don't want to buy makeup to review because I don't want to like spend money. I have a weird thing with money, but I'm so glad I did because I not only love this palette, I know you guys love this palette as well. So yeah, maybe I'll have to take this home with me because I miss it. I miss her. I miss her so much. At number 5, this is kind of spoiler territory, so be prepared. This is my Pan That palette. This is my That's Taupe eyeshadow palette. I love this thing. I've fallen in love with this thing over the past few months, and I'm so happy this is Pan That palette. This is just me in a palette. My everyday kind of looks is this, and I'm not bored of it yet. You can see we've made a little bit of progress on this. I'm not gonna say anything if you're not caught up with this project, but we've done pretty well since last update. I really just like it. It's like the only palette that I found that like is my perfect everyday kind of palette. I compare this to the e.l.f. Truffles palette that I panned years ago, and it kind of gives me the same energy. I still love the e.l.f. Truffles palette. It takes a really good palette to still be loved when you've completely finished the whole thing. Like, that was a struggle to finish that whole thing, but I still love the e.l.f. Truffles palette, and I'm really thinking that this one is going to be the same kind of deal. I have all year to make progress on this, and I know that this is going to look battered by the end of this year, and I'm so excited for it. This is such a welcome change as well from Modern Renaissance on all of the really bright warm shades that were in that I just could not stand by the end of it. This is such a nice contrast, and it's such a breath of fresh air for me. I really do love this, and so I feel kind of bad having it at number 5 because it should be higher, but I've got some bangers here, I'm not gonna lie. At number 4, I have another P. Louise palette. This is the Stack 'em Up palette. This is not too much of a victim of the P. Louise curse because you can see there is a lot of range between these shades, so maybe I'll take back what I said before. I think if this whole row was just like super dark, slightly lighter, slightly lighter, and then just, you get what I mean. I can't be dealing with that. I cannot be dealing with that. Like, these shades blend together perfectly. You don't need shades in between to make it work, and that's what annoys me about the other palette. This one doesn't have it as much. I really like that you can do blue, you can do kind of periwinkle, and you can do teal. Even though it's such a small palette, there is options still. The other palette I feel quite restricted with because I don't feel like there's many options, but this one I really do like. I'm a little bit ashamed because I have neglected it quite a lot and I need to not do that, but these shades are very similar to my Pan That palette right now, which, I mean, if you know, you know, and maybe it will be a little bit neglected this year, but I mean, these teals at least can be used a hell of a lot by me. This periwinkle is also amazing. The quality is crazy. The pigmentation is absolutely amazing, but yeah, it does still get a little bit neglected, but I'm really happy that I've showcased it today and given it a little bit of time in the spotlight, and hopefully that'll like trigger my brain to actually use it a lot more. All right, so now it's top 3, and honestly, these are top 3 every year, like nothing tops these. At number 3 is the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette. This is an oldie but a goodie, but not as old as top 2. This is such a pretty palette and I really enjoy this. I really wanted the Melt Muerte for the longest time, and I feel like this is kind of like giving me that. I missed out on that palette, but this is kind of like, you know what, here's your second chance, especially the top row and the bottom row. The reds are not good. The reds are really bad, so, you know, I steer clear of them. But this palette is really nice. I just love the colour story. I find the colour story so satisfying to look at. It kind of goes from cool tone to warm tone. It has the two extremes of both, and I just think it's beautiful. I love contrasting colour stories. Again, it is something that I just live, breathe and die for. I love contrast, and this has that in abundance. I just think it's so beautiful. Again, kind of similar to the Botanical. It's got that like something different to it, and I love that about it. Even this shade Fossil is so blinding and shimmery and in your face, and it just makes me smile so much. I really love this palette. The quality is amazing. The color story is 10 out of 10. I just love it so much. It's definitely a palette that I'm going to be loving for a very long time. It is discontinued, unfortunately, but that does not stop me loving it and using it and treasuring it. So Wilderness it is. Okay, top 2. Some of you eagle-eyed viewers will already know what this is. At number 2, it's one or the other. This is the Blue Moon palette. So this is an all blue palette from Colourpop, and obviously I love this. This has my favourite shade in it called Lumi. I have got a massive pan on Clued In, and this is also half of my Pan That palette this year. I do have a few of these shades that normally I take out and put into the That's Taupe palette. I swap a few shades around, but it's stunning. Blue is my happy colour. I love it so much, and I just use this constantly. And again, going back to what I said before, Colourpop is so good at doing monochrome, but also having a bit of something different in it. So these two almost like periwinkle denim jean kind of shades, really nice. I love that something different in here. So pretty. Lumi is my inner corner shade of my dreams. I love it so much. I want to name my blue staffy Lumi when I eventually get one. I just think it's beautiful. I'm so excited to work on the few shades that I have in Pan That palette. Expand this pan, definitely. I feel like it's expanded already since I last saw it, and I'm just really excited about this. This still gives me so much joy. It's always given me joy, and yeah, number 2. I'm not sad about giving it number 2 at all. I think it is so well deserved, but number 1, you guys you already know what number one is, or if you were a new viewer, welcome to my channel. Number one is my Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. This has been my number one palette for years and years and years. And interestingly enough, when I first used this palette, I actually didn't like it. I gave this a really bad first review, but now I really love it. The shimmers aren't great. The shimmers are quite mushy and malleable, and I do have quite crinkly eyes, so they do crease. However, the mattes in this more than makeup. You can see how many pans I have in this. It is kind of crazy. It is kind of ridiculous, but this is going to be used and abused all the way through this year because this is my focus palette for Pan Those Eyeshadows. Right now, the shade Enchanted is in my Pan Those Eyeshadows, and we've got a massive dip in it. There you go. You can definitely see there. I'm really, really happy with this palette. I love this palette so much, and I can really honestly see a day that I finish this. It's going to be in a very long time, but I can definitely see that happening, more than likely. It's just stunning. It's got those taupes, it's got those neutrals, it's got those blues, it's got those teals, and also a little bit of purple as well. I don't normally gravitate towards purple, but I think in this kind of colour story, it just goes and it's beautiful. What can I say? This is shock horror number one. So this is it. This is where I'm going to love you and leave you today, guys. I hope you did enjoy this video. Are you shocked at all? If you are, you might be new. But if you're not, here we go. I just love coming, ranking, and talking about palettes, whether good, bad, or ugly. I hope you have a wonderful day today, guys. Definitely remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye-bye.